Cruz, and this is the Journey Radio Show. We're showing up as the SheSquatchers tonight, so of course I've got my trusty teammate on the line with me, with Jenna Grover. Hey, Jenna, are you there?
Why? Yes, I am. I have that darn mute button that seems to stick, but I am here and I'm excited for our guy.
Yay, that's awesome. That's awesome. I'm trying to add him onto his other account on the call, but it's just, I keep calling him and it's not letting me add him to the call. So maybe we're going to have to use the way that we're already connected with him. Hey, Ron. We've got Ronald Murphy with us tonight. Hey.
It is. Yes. How are you doing? Can you see me at all?
I can see you, but you're going to want to move it down.
All right. I'm going to move it down. I'm going to move it down.
Great. We'll try that. We'll try that. Hopefully it works. There's no way to really tell at this point.
Is that good?
I can't tell you how it's going to show up on the recording, but it's good for now.
Yeah, because you have to see me to really appreciate me. You understand that, correct?
I do. I totally get that. So I hope that we don't cut off part of your head, but there's no way of knowing with the setup that you're using right now.
But you look fabulous, so that's...
I appreciate that. I will tell you this, though. If I move the camera any further down, your ratings will go even higher.
Oh, of course. Well, right now they can't see us on the radios because we're live. So welcome to the show. Welcome to the show.
It's a pleasure being here. How's everything in Minnesota?
Cold. It's great. It's cold. We took a turn for the cold.
What's the temperature there?
It was 40 today, I think.
I don't know why anybody lives in that state. It's a great state to visit in the summertime, but it's like 85 degrees. Birds are nesting, flowers are blooming.
Okay, let me just clarify. The geese are here, and they're nesting. They have eggs in their nests. And 85 degrees is way too hot for a Minnesota girl. I'm just saying.
I guess. Okay, no worries. But if I do come up to see you ladies, it's going to have to be in the summertime.
That's fine. Oh, yeah. Well, that's when it's 80s and it's way too hot. But yes, you're welcome to come up. Jenna winters in Texas. She likes that because she's always wintered in Texas, and I am a born, bred, and all of my life Minnesota girl up in the north. Wow. You betcha.
Well, good for you. That's right.
Yes, we do live in the Fargo, North Dakota, Moorhead, Minnesota area. So, oh yeah, you betcha. Welcome to Minnesota.
And it's really true. We really do talk like that. We don't even hear ourselves. Someone said something about saying, "Oh yeah, geez, yeah," and I was like, "We don't." Yeah, we do. We really do. You start listening to yourself, and you're like, "Wow, I didn't think I was that bad."
It's an extremely sexy accent, so I would go with it.
Oh, I've never heard it called sexy before. However, I was asked to play the lead role of the voluptuous wife in the play called How to Speak Minnesotan, because I have the actual accent, and they wanted me to play the part in this dinner theater thing that traveled all over and whatever, How to Speak Minnesotan, and I just couldn't pull it off because I was a single mom at the time and just couldn't like that.
You should have done it, because the 500 residents of the state of Minnesota would have loved to see that.
500. Right. No. So let me tell you,
I think there's a few more.
Yeah, there's a lot more, especially when you count Minneapolis, St. Paul. We got millions upon millions. But hey, Ron Murphy is coming to us tonight to talk to us about Bigfoot, cryptids, and he wants to talk about fairies. Woo!
Fairies. That's right. Right.
Yeah.
It's going to be awesome.
I thought you were going to say you wanted to talk about your girlfriend, but...
Hey, guys, listen. It's been a while. I have been out of circulation now for a number of years, and just between us, if you're talking about things, in the paranormal world, sometimes that doesn't really, square. But I was actually able to find this one particular woman that agreed to go out with me, if you can believe it. I had to use witchcraft, but I was able to get someone to actually agree to go out with me, and her name is Julie, and I have never been happier in my adult life.
Wow.
Cool. Congratulations.
How long have you been seeing her? That's awesome.
I'm thinking maybe 72 hours. You know, I kind of rush things. No, no. It's a few months. It's a few months. It's a few months. We're making it. It's not official yet. We're going to make it a Facebook official on Sunday.
Facebook so there's official. A plan to make it Facebook official.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. So yeah, but I will premiere it on your show that Ron Murphy is now off the market. I know that's going to make a lot of people very, very sad.
Yes. I'm sad.
Oh, yes, very sad, very sad. But, now, see, now that makes you unavailable, and that's going to make all these women just go, but Ron,
I missed my chance.
Yes, they absolutely they missed their chance, and now they can just go back and say, "Oh, Ron, the things that they can only dream about now." So,
yeah. It's so true.
Oh my goodness! Oh my goodness! This is so awesome. Yeah. I'm so glad. Hopefully you can bring Julie along to Kansas City Paragon so we can meet her.
I think that I will bring her on to Kansas City Paragon to meet you guys.
Yay. That would be awesome.
Awesome! Yeah. I'm telling you.
Very cool.
Awesome. So hey y'all, that's a event that we're all going to be at this summer, and they've changed the date. I'm not sure if you're aware of that yet, but they changed the date to August 9th and 10th.
I did not know this.
Well, I don't think that they've announced it until this weekend. They have it planned to make it Facebook official.
Wow. Everything's planned.
I think I might have another conference then. I'll have to check that out.
Well, no. What happened was they found out the venue was double booked. They had first booked a wedding and forgot about that they had booked that. So then they had notified them that they can't have the venue because they have a wedding already booked. So
a wedding?
Yeah.
Well, that makes no sense. Anybody can have a wedding. There's only one cryptids you can do.
Right? Who's getting married? We need to change this.
Exactly.
Well, apparently they had scheduled it first. So yeah.
Did they know that Ron Murphy and the she-squatchers were going to be there? I don't think they knew that.
Well, I don't know. So probably the invitations have probably been sent out already.
I know, but so what? I told people I was going to be there though at another date, so my invitations were sent out too. But it's okay. I'll go with it. I'm happy.
All right. And hey, August 10th is my birthday, so feel free to bring me a present.
I will bring you a present. I promise you that.
Yes, in lieu of presents, please bring more presents. That's Jen's.
Well, I've said this before. After speaking with you in Kentucky and then doing our radio show Inside the Goblin Universe with you ladies, you are my favorite people in the paranormal field, correct?
Really? Oh my gosh.
Absolutely. No. I would not lie about such a thing.
Thank you. Wow. What makes us so special?
You always have such great things to tell us.
What makes you so special? Let's go with intelligence, your wit and your sarcasm, and your world-class looks. Let's go with that way. Is that okay?
Oh, you are awesome. Thank you.
Welcome. Thank you.
That's a huge compliment, and I'll take it.
Jenna's like, oh, please tell me more.
That's right. So have you been out squatching? Have you done any research lately?
Are you kidding? It's still cold here. Everything just melted and everything is flooded and muddy. We can't go out yet. We get stuck. Tammy got stuck in her yard.
Yeah, I don't think people understand. Minnesota is the land of 10,000 lakes.
Yeah. And right now we've got even more because the farmland is flooded.
Oh, wow. What I found amazing is the Mississippi starts in Minnesota, doesn't it?
It absolutely does. It starts up at Itasca State Park. And I got to tell you, as a kid, they took me there. They took me there as a kid. And I stood there looking at the trickle coming out of the ground going, this is so dumb. Why are we here? So why are they going off about this? My creek is bigger than this. And
Yeah. Well, whenever
I
first
didn't
saw it,
understand it turned into a big river. I didn't know that.
it turns. So whenever you go up to Minnesota, you cannot sing "Swing Low," big, all that big river stuff up there because it doesn't happen yet.
Right. It does actually turn into a bigger river later, though. Like it's still in the state of Minnesota, but not a trickle. That's a trickle.
No.
Yeah.
No, but yeah, so everything is going well here. I have been doing some research. I've been looking into some dogman sightings and some Bigfoot sightings because now that the weather breaks, a lot more people are outside doing fun things. And if you're going to come across any kind of elusive cryptid, now is the time to do such things.
Right. Yes.
Yeah.
For you, where you're living.
Yes, in Western Pennsylvania. That is correct. That's right.
Yeah.
That's right.
Yes.
But it's great. A lot of tree structures. But the whole thing is, though, whenever you get reports of tree structures this early on, it's probably from some sort of winter storm damage. But I did get a chance to see some intriguing things that look like twists and some tree branches that look like they were actually intertwined. So it looks like there was some intelligence behind it.
Okay. Yeah.
Nice.
And what do you think that those types of stick structures are for?
Again, see, that is the thing. So we are thinking that some sort of corporeal bipedal hominin is making such things, and you would think it would probably be for maybe, I don't know, direction marks, territorial marks. I'm not sure. But obviously it's doing it for a visible sign of something. And that's why we keep on researching, isn't it?
It is. It is.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I would think that other animals. If you look into the world of nature, whenever you look at the world of great apes, usually whenever anything is constructed for some sort of territorial reason, I assume that's probably what's going on.
That could be. That could be.
What is your take on that?
Well, those tiny little teepee structures that people would find that were just like mini little structures. I used to think that was a bunch of hoopla. I used to think that until we found some right out in front of a big den-like structure that we really felt very positive was Bigfoot built. And so I'm like, oh, look, here's one of those little tiny teepee structures that everybody says they think is associated with Bigfoot. And here it is right out in front of this big den-like stick structure. Okay, I'm going to accept it. Because I didn't think it was before.
Right. I think a lot of researchers are focused on looking for something 7, 8 feet tall, 800 pounds. That's what people are looking for. But I'm finding, especially here in Western Pennsylvania, our quarry might be something a lot smaller. And I will give you an example. This happened probably about 2 or 3 months ago. The temperature was -3 degrees outside. School was canceled. Nothing was going on. The snow was all over the place. But I went out to my car at probably about 6 o'clock in the morning. Remember, -3. And there was one clear pathway that went through my yard. And it was a track of probably about 7 or 8 inches in length. And it was barefooted. So whatever was going on is pretty, inexplicable. Now, I contacted Stan Gordon, who has been a mentor of mine for probably 10 or 15 years. And he's like the grandfather of cryptozoology here in Western Pennsylvania. And he said there's been these sightings of these very small tracks for about 3 decades around here. And I thought it was very unusual. But what made these trackways even more unusual is that it started out with a right footprint right in the middle of the yard. So it didn't lead from any place. It wasn't like it was leading out of the woods. It just simply appeared as if it stepped out of something. I know we talked about vortexes before, and I know we talked about the idea of portals before. But it seemed as if it stepped out of some reality and into our reality or into our dimension. It was a right track, another right track, then a third right track with a left footprint, okay? So it looked, I mean, from my point of view, it looked like there was some sort of materialization process going on. So whatever it was wasn't fully physical until it made 2 or 3 steps into the yard. It came up then to my window, and it led down a hill and it disappeared. So, that's rather strange. And also because I investigate these kind of things, that made it even stranger. But I find in my research that a lot of people who are open to this kind of stuff somehow attract these things as well too, whether you're a ghost hunter or a ufologist, or you're looking for any kind of cryptid. It seems that if you're open to the universe, these kind of things find you.
Yeah,
I found that to be true. Yeah, that's definitely true. Whatever you're seeking is seeking you.
That's right. That's right. And maybe that is the reason why we are all in this as investigators, right? I mean, this is something that interests us, and maybe it's kind of like we're presupposed to this kind of thing.
That could be. That could be.
Like alcoholism.
I'm not predisposed to that at all. I don't even drink.
That's right. No. Look, the reason why I stay in this field for as long as I have is because every time I think I'm onto something, whether it's debunking or something, I'm left with even more question marks. And that's the reason why I do this thing, going on 20 some years.
Somebody recently asked me, what are you going to do when you find out the answers? And I said, there's always more questions. Is that no matter what we find out, it inspires more questions. There's never an end. It's called the great mystery for a reason. Right?
That's right. That's right. So even if we find a Bigfoot, say that we find a Bigfoot, okay, then we go on to lake monsters, don't we? Or we go on to the next thing that goes bump in the night.
Right? Yeah, there's always more to look for. And even if we do find Bigfoot, we have much to learn about Bigfoot.
That's right. That's right.
Right?
A lot about Bigfoot. That's right.
Right.
And then you'll get academia in there. The people that make fun of us now will then be the ones that are out in the field with their degrees and their book bags and stuff like that. And then they'll take all the credit, and it will be on National Geographic and everything. And we will be forced into obscurity again.
Oh, okay. Yeah, true. It's a never-ending battle, but it's fun.
Yes, it is. It is. It's a fun battle, I tell you.
Yeah,
it is.
Say, would you be able to do something? People out there that are listening, you won't understand that, but people that are going to be watching this later, they will. Would you be able to put your screen down just a little bit, so the other way, the other way, up. Sorry about that. Yes, I'm seeing your face now. There you go.
I'll try it.
Now I see it. I see the whole face. That looks good.
You can see it how it is on the video?
I think so. If you click on the bottom, where the different.
I'm going to trust you to do it. Just do it and tell me it looks good.
Okay, well, I hope I'm seeing it right. Otherwise, we're going to get his eyeballs. But I think we've got it. We've got it.
Yeah, whatever you tell me to do, I will do it at this point.
Okay, you look fabulous now.
I appreciate that. I did get a haircut.
Really?
Which one got cut up there?
I know. We're terribly witty, aren't we?
We're too fun.
Did you see that? I just had a North American house ape cross behind me. I don't know if you saw that, but there was that's my child. He actually crossed behind me because he wanted to see who I was talking to.
I did not see him.
Yeah, that's one of the joys of being a dad and also doing talk shows. So, but my girlfriend got my youngest one to sleep, so he was the one that I was most concerned about. But the other two apes, I'm not too concerned about at all. But see, that's one of the reasons why I keep on out there looking for Bigfoot, because nothing is more terrifying than my children.
I hear you.
Says the one who has no children.
Right? I don't have any children, but I may have been subconsciously scared of having them. So I'm a great aunt. Actually, literally a great aunt. But yeah.
That's right. Yeah. Yeah, children scare the heck out of me. They really do. And I will take them along on certain, expeditions, because I would think that if there is a Bigfoot creature out there, children would probably be the most ideal bait for such a situation. So that's what I do.
Yeah.
There,
Well,
I saw somebody behind you.
it
Yep,
is
2 8.
believed.
That's right. That's right. That's right.
It is
Oh,
believed that Bigfoot is attracted to coming in closer to get a little closer look at women and children.
exactly. Exactly. And I think that there's something to be said about that because men are very confrontational in appearance. They're very well. I mean, I would think that if you ever had any negative interaction with a human being, it probably would come from a male figure in the Bigfoot world. Probably a hunter or something like that. So if you come across somebody that talks, a very low voice, very unassuming and unaggressive, such as a child or women such as yourselves, I think that if I were a Bigfoot, I would come and check it out.
Mm-hmm. Very good point.
Jenna's always singing when we're out in the woods, so she thinks she's going to give them a concert or something.
Right. I believe they are in love with singing. No, I'm kidding. I'm just kidding. They may just be in love with Jen.
Look, I have no problem with the presupposition that these things might be attracted to certain type of noises. If these are biological creatures, then I would think the sound of a human voice would be something that would be appealing to them, and I think that a woman making that sound would be something that would be inviting.
And exactly. And what about vibrations? Vocals, vibrations, frequencies. You can heal with the voice. So yeah, I'm all about singing.
Yeah. So whenever
not on air.
I would like to hear. No, I think that you should. I think that whenever the show ends, like the last 10 minutes, you should just sing us out.
Nope.
Oh, I wish we could, but there's no singing on this station, so.
Oh my goodness. Well, let me tell you my little theory behind vibrations, if I can. So Stonehenge, it has been proven that it acts almost as an acoustic echo chamber. So if you were in there with a drum, like a concert quality type of atmosphere, but it would sound like a very enclosing, almost ominous sound, an engulfing sound. There's been plenty of studies done on this. So if you can imagine this kind of cadence, this kind of repetitive beating on a drum within Stonehenge, it would have given you a feeling, something that you could actually feel in your body, a vibration, like you said. And then if you look at medieval cathedrals, they were built upon these same type of principles. So whenever we think about, the great, the Gregorian chants and such, they may have had a resonance that could have cured the human body.
Very interesting.
Right, which leads us now to fairies. Do you see how we transitioned on this? So fairies, if these are elemental creatures of the natural world, some sort of intelligent energies that are vibrations. Wouldn't it make sense that if we are open to these vibrations, that we can become synchronized to them and thus see them?
I think that makes a lot of sense.
Well, that's not me saying that, but if you look at like Paracelsus from the Renaissance, was one of these great alchemists, but also the father of mineralogy. We use a lot of his findings even to this very day. He discovered zinc, don't you?
Zinc?
And he also named gnomes. So there you go. Paracelsus was one heck of a dude. So Paracelsus said that all of nature is imbued with these intelligent forces, and they exist in a certain vibration. And if we as humans can become synced into that vibration, very wondrous things can happen.
Oh, that's a beautiful way of saying that.
It is a beautiful way of saying it. And not only did I say it, but I also wrote it in my newest book entitled On Fairies, which is available today.
You just released it?
It was just published today. I just got an email today whenever I was at dinner saying that it was available today on Amazon.
Congratulations. I've got to check it out.
It is a fantastic book. I know the author very well, and it's quite a treatise too. It's a long book, and it explores fairy lore from the very beginning of time, as far back as I could research, looking at barrows and certain types of tumuluses in Ireland and moving the whole way up until the contemporary world. And we talk about portals and all kinds of cool, neat, new agey things in there.
Oh, that's awesome. Yeah. Oh my goodness. Now I'm really excited because I love Amazon and I've got Amazon Prime. So knock that shipping out.
It's there. Awesome. Awesome. Yeah. And you can also, get that from me from various other resources, or you can email me at Ronald L. Murphy Jr. At yahoo.com, and I can sign you a copy and send it out to you.
Ooh, I want to do that.
Yep.
Or you could just wait and see him in August in Kansas City.
And
that's true.
That's right. That's right. You know what? I'm actually getting booked at a lot of different places. I'm very, very excited. So I will be in the New Jersey Paracon, the 18th, I think, the 18th of May. I will be there in Woodbridge, New Jersey. And then the final weekend, or the last Friday and the first weekend of June, I'll be at the Bigfoot Camping Adventure in Benner's Campground in Farmington, Pennsylvania. And then I will be in Powwow, West Virginia, to do a talk on fairies at the Avalon Nudist Resort.
Ooh, I bet you're gonna love that one.
I actually spoke there in October. Yeah, it's an interesting place.
How does Julie feel about that?
That was our first date. The first time we ever did anything, guys, I took her to the Avalon Nudist Resort, and I talked about ghosts there, and she was very she didn't take off her clothes. I didn't take off my clothes. You have to understand this, guys. I don't do that kind of thing. But she was very receptive to what I do, and I thought that this is the gal for me.
Aww.
But then it took me months to convince her of that.
That you're not a person that goes to the nudist camps, or
no. But I was the person. That's right. Yeah.
Oh my goodness.
Of all the things that I've ever endeavored to study in my life, emotional interactions is by far the most difficult thing to get to the bottom of. So I think that's one of the reasons why I hunt these kind of elusive, creatures of the night, is because those are a lot easier to find than true love. Boy, that sounded kind of sappy, but that sounded kind of cute too, didn't it?
Yes. Yes.
Yeah.
This is how you reeled her in, mister. This is how you reeled her in. I know it.
Possibly.
Oh my goodness.
So I don't think I can wait for the book to wait until the event. So I think I might just throw some money towards your book and buy it and read it. So when I see you, I'll be able to say, hey, sign it. I've read it. So
that would be awesome. I worked hard, and you had Lyle Blackburn on here not too long ago, correct?
We did,
and he's a great guy, a very good author. The Beast of Boggy Creek and everything, and he's somebody that I have idolized for the majority of my adult life, looking at researchers. So I mean, and whenever you have somebody write about this subject, it's a hard subject to write about. It takes a long time to do the research if you do it right. And he's really one of my favorite authors out there. So I appreciate that very much whenever you talk about buying books, because that's what keeps us going. Yeah,
it's true. Definitely. You can't have a business if you give it all away. So
Exactly. And I'm a teacher in my real life, and I really cannot wait till this ends either. So, let's buy a lot of books up.
Yeah, really. If you're out there, buy books, baby.
Yeah, if I can have let's start a campaign. If I can have 10,000 people buy my book, I wouldn't have to work.
Hey,
wow. How about that?
That would be a lot of
every
people.
month.
That would be the entire of Minnesota and North and South Dakota combined.
Oh wow.
Hey,
well, I won't share my book then. I'm just gonna say, you know what? Go get the book.
Go get the book. That's right.
Mm-hmm.
And it's called On Fairies by Ronald Murphy, and it's on Amazon.
It is on Amazon, and an historical survey. That is the little subtitle to it.
There you go. There you go.
Yes.
Well, we have to go to our
Oh.
break. So let's take a little commercial break. We'll be right back with Ronald Murphy, everyone. All right. So I think, Jenna, that it's not showing Sarge when you take a screenshot. So I think Ron should probably still move his camera down.
Okay. Well,
where did he go? Oh, there you go.
You guys on hold, and then I get cut off for some reason. Okay, now you're back on.
Okay, if you can tilt it down a little bit so your head is towards the more top of the screen. There you go. Right there. We'll try that. The only way to know for sure is to stop recording, and we can't really do that. So
well, it did show me a screenshot, and it looked like I was completely in the shot.
And that's how we see you too. But when we go to the actual recording, it goes into 4 windows, not 3.
I see.
Mm-hmm. So that's the problem that we've been having. So hopefully this is the right.
Yes.
Hopefully.
I still want to impress you, ladies. I'm hoping I'm not letting you down in any way.
Not at all. You're amazing. And you know, I have to say, I literally can feel your happiness. I think Jen can too. It's just like, oh my gosh, this guy is full of happy, joy. You know what I mean? I almost sang it. I won't sing. But
yes, yeah. Well, I appreciate that.
Oh my gosh, yeah. And thank you so much for being on. You're doing it a rock and roll time. So you're doing awesome.
That's okay. You know, the baby is sleep. Well, the baby. I have a 6-year-old, but he's sleeping, and the preteens are downstairs. Hopefully, they're sleeping as well too. So this is great. I have no problem doing this.
Okay, let's listen for Sarge now.
10. Roll.
Welcome back to the show, everyone. This is the Journey Radio Show, and when we are not live on the air, you can find us at thejourneyradioshow.com. And hey, we're the SheSquatchers. Check us out at SheSquatchers.com, and you'll find a little link there to find us on Facebook. Please do that and come over and like our page, because that's where we're posting our most in the moment, what's going on today stuff. So check us out on Facebook at SheSquatchers. And also, we're on YouTube. SheSquatchers Official is our channel. Come on over and subscribe to our channel, everybody, because we're always posting some pretty cool stuff there. And you can see some of the behind-the-scenes stuff on some of our shows anyway. So check that out. And since we're going into the squatching season very shortly here, we'll be uploading more videos as we go. So tonight we have Ronald Murphy on the show with us tonight. He has researched everything from lake monsters to werewolves, Bigfoot, and fairies. And he's coming to us to talk to us tonight about all kinds of things. And we just tonight found out that his newest book was released today on Amazon. It's called On Fairies by Ronald Murphy. So check it out there. So let's bring Ron back on the air. Hey, Ron.
Hey there, guys.
Hey. Yes. Tell us, what have you found out about fairies? Have you seen a fairy?
Well, I've never actually have seen a fairy, but you know, whenever people go in the woods, and this happens a lot in Bigfoot encounters as well too, they have a feeling, that kind of unexplicable feeling. You can't really define it in any way, and sometimes you really can't discern it, but you have this feeling. I've had those a few times, and if we would go through fairy lore, this is one of the attributes of, you know, these fairy encounters. So as a researcher of things, talking about Bigfoot and dogmen, and even things like thunderbirds and more, you know, outrageous creatures, is it possible that our little fairy friends, the little wee folk, could be the ones that are responsible for such sightings as Bigfoot? In other words, I will posit this to you. Is it possible that Bigfoot itself could be part of the fairy realm?
Now, I have that spawns a question that can bring us back to this. But when you and I were talking the other day, I said, fairies are little people, or are they different or the same? And you said,
oh no. Yeah, see, the thing is, most people think of fairies as little. And often they're called the wee folk. That's one of the things. You don't want to ever upset a fairy. So you would be very polite and call them the wee folk or the good people. But the idea of them being only small is a very Victorian notion. If you look at the Grey Man up in Scotland and Ben Macdui up in the Scottish Highlands, this is a creature that is mostly foggy in nature, very incorporeal. It's one of these creatures that can take and morph its shape. But whenever it is seen in a physical realm, it is like a giant Bigfoot-like creature, sometimes 12 feet tall. Also in Yorkshire, there is a giant fairy that likes to go around grabbing travelers off the road, decapitating them and wearing their skulls around for a belt. So the idea that fairies are only small is not quite accurate.
I've never heard of that one. Oh my goodness. Is this in your book?
I do happen to mention these things, absolutely. And I have a little chapter in there regarding Bigfoot as well. The other thing is that fairies are known to kidnap people. And, the idea of Bigfoot kidnapping, at least a few historical times seems very curious, because fairies would kidnap people for reproductive purposes, and that seems what Bigfoot is doing as well whenever it does its kidnapping. We have these stories of mountain wives and sometimes men being taken, but even if you would look at the over in Indonesia with the little hobbit creature, there's folklore over there saying that they would actually come down to steal children or to come down to steal women in order to mate with them. So this is something that's indicative of not only the wild man culture, but also the fairy culture as well.
Oh, yeah. Well, that's quite interesting. So if they were to have a half human, half fairy child, would that be a fae child or would that be a human child?
Well, okay, now we're going to have to go to the works of like William Shakespeare to figure this kind of stuff out, because it was really never written emphatically about what was going to be happening. Sometimes you can think that it's going to be a changeling, which is this kind of weird cacophony of human and fairy, and they're usually sickly. But Shakespeare has no problem with fairies and humans interacting in that particular way. And whenever we get up to the time of the Romantic poets, this is something to be sought after. This is your ultimate quest for a human mortal male, to find a fairy with which to procreate with. So I think that we have to go through different elements of time. Definitely by the time we get to Elizabethan England, the idea that there's going to be procreative abilities is there. But I think, I'm sorry, if you go back into the Middle Ages, into the Dark Ages, I think it's a little bit more tenuous to really put your finger down what would happen if a human and a fairy would mate.
So it's not like it's been documented that it happened. It's just an idea.
Oh no, it has been documented that it's happened. In Ireland, back in Victorian England, a man actually killed his wife because he claimed that she was a fairy.
Wow.
Yeah, that she was a changeling, that she was replaced with a fairy creature that was half human and half fairy. So he killed her. Now, he did not get off scot-free, but he got a very light sentence.
Wow, really?
Well, I wonder what he used as evidence, proof, to tell the courts, oh, my wife is a fairy. I killed her.
Well,
I mean, what do you...
Well, I don't know. She burnt the eggs. I'm not sure what he used. But, the thing is, a changeling could be discerned. You could say certain spells around it, maybe take something holy around it that it found, adversive. But these are usually dark fairies that we're talking about. Now, that's where it gets confusing even more. There are two different types of fairies. We have the fairies, the light fairies, and then we have the dark fairies. And that's also the human's responsibility to decipher which one you're dealing with.
Okay.
Yeah. See, it becomes more difficult, doesn't it?
Mm-hmm.
Well, now humans will tend to go to think about that in the terms of good and evil, but it's not really that, though, is it?
No, it's not. So the Judeo-Christian element that we put on top of these things is always going to be confusing. The Scottish term that would have been used would be the Seelie Court and the Unseelie Court. The Seelie Court was the blessed fairies. The Unseelie Court was the dark, more sinister ones. But the root word for Seelie is the same word that we have today for silly. So if you would look at it that way, we're talking about more jovial creatures as opposed to the more kind of serious, dark-minded creatures out there.
So even the unseelie fairies could be friendly.
Oh, yes. Oh, absolutely. And to have a fairy in your garden is something that you really want to try to attract. It's just choosing the right fairy for the garden, choosing the right again, it goes back to vibrations. Negative vibrations is going to attract negative entities, isn't it? Even if you're ghost hunting, I think that would come into play. But if you're a positive person, the idea of attracting something positive to you is much more attainable, I think. And that's why I always try to be a very pleasant, positive person. But yeah, the idea that your garden grows because a fairy is attending to it is a very ancient belief.
Mm-hmm.
Very cool.
I've been reading a lot more about fairies. I bought a book, I don't remember the name of it, but I had no idea there were so many. And they talk about the different countries that each fairy is associated with, and I can't even pronounce some of the names.
Yeah, it's very complicated. I have a section on Nordic folklore involving fairies, which would be called elves over there. Or you also have the giants as well, which fits very nicely into the fairy realm too. But then you have the high idea of the Japanese having fairies as well, and the Asian influence of fairies. And it's very interesting because fairies are often associated with graveyards. That is one of the things. The idea that the realm of the dead and the fairy realm or the other world is somehow intertwined is quite ancient. But whenever you want to find a great place to hunt fairies over in Asia, and that would be at the base of the woods of Mount Fuji, which is now called the Suicide Forest because so many people go there, unfortunately, to end their own lives. But again, we're talking about we're separated by a vast distance. We're separated by a language, but we still have the same mythologies synchronized with each other. And as a researcher, that is really telling because that shows that there's something going on besides just influence in the media. Because these myths are quite ancient.
Okay, so I think I figured something out with our video recording. If you could bring your face down just a little bit in the screen, that would be good. There, we can see your eyes. There.
All right.
I can
All right.
just a little bit more. Sit back a little bit. That would be good. Yep. That's perfect. Right there.
Great.
See Jenna in that little floating window. You can see him in the floating window. And you're on mute. So I have in the chat room, Kat is saying, I would never have thought of giants being associated with the Fae realm.
Yes. Hello there, Kat. So we have people actually asking questions.
Yes.
This is fantastic. This is my favorite part. Whenever this happens, I'm always afraid that nobody's going to be listening. So I'm glad they came out whenever I'm on there, because you never know. People might hate me. I'm not sure. But yeah, so yeah. Also, the other thing is the idea of shape shifting. Fairies being able to take on multiple aspects. In the Chestnut Ridge of where I'm at in Western Pennsylvania. Actually, if I look out my window here, I can see the Chestnut Ridge. I got a story several years ago from a man that was hiking up there, and he said he was walking and he came across, and what he called two brownies were wrestling with each other. Now, if you want to be specific, brownies are basically fairies that are associated with a particular habitation. But because Harry Potter made them so popular, people now have that as part of the vernacular. but he said that there was these two little brownies that were wrestling, and he couldn't remember if they had clothes on or not. But he said that they wrestled for a while, and then one of them noticed him, and then it ran into the side of the hill and vanished. But he pointed out there was no hole in the side of the hill. It just vanished and actually was absorbed by the hillside itself. And the other fairy, interestingly enough, went through a inventory of shapeshifts until it transformed itself into a giant bird and flew away. Now, I also have to point out that this area of the Chestnut Ridge is also prone to thunderbird sightings. And then we have a fairy that lives in Waterford, Ireland, that is also known to transfigure itself into large black eagles.
Wow, that's very interesting.
All
that's
comes together.
Very interesting. Is that what you were trying to say, Jen? That's
awesome.
very.
That was amazing. So let's put this out. So fairies had something called glamour. That's where we get our fashion from. The idea that you can change your appearance by adopting some sort of aesthetic or whatever. So fairy glamour was their ability to change the way they appear. And sometimes they appear as very large creatures, and sometimes they appear as different animals. But their fairy essence is still there. So I keep on going back. Why haven't we captured a Bigfoot that there is energy in nature that is able to project something that looks like a Bigfoot creature into the mind, and people take a picture and there's nothing there?
True. Kat is saying in the chat room, I've wondered what with sightings of pop culture inventions like the Slender Man, if maybe it's the Fae who are just showing us what we fear.
Well, it's very possible. And that is the point, isn't it? It's an element of fear. Now, Slender Man is one of these really weird things that I think that if we keep up with this, it might produce one of those tulpas, one of these things where if enough people think about it, it will take on a life of its own. That's a very frightening thing, this kind of, group collective mentality, able to conjure a creature to life. But, I try to steer people away. My kids went through this one time whenever they were afraid of this, and not too recently, children were very afraid by this creature called the Momo. Do you remember that? That was a relatively recent thing as well, too. But if enough people think about this stuff, I do feel that this energy can be released into the world as some sort of cohesive intelligence idea.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Tulpas. So for those who are listening that don't know what a tulpa is, it is something that is created by the mass consciousness of people believing in it. So it's actually being created into physicality by the belief in it.
Yeah, it's out of Eastern philosophy, but it does make absolute sense if you think about it for a while.
Kat is so funny. She says, if tulpas exist, why isn't Elvis one?
That's a really good point.
We have a lot of impersonators out there, I assume.
Right. That was a good one, Kat. Very good. Not too often I just crack up when I'm reading the chat room. Yeah. So that is so interesting. So are you familiar with, I was watching a show one day and they were talking about pictures that were depicted of people building the pyramids in Egypt, where they were giant people that were building the pyramids, but they looked just like the littler people, and there was some idea that they were changing their size at will. Are you familiar with this?
I'm familiar with the artwork of Mesopotamia, and you see that a lot. You see the idea of this size difference. Usually what size difference shows is that there's a more important person involved than the other person that's depicted. That's usually what happens. This happens in Assyria, this happens in Samaria, Babylon. So it's very possible that Egypt picked this up as well too. I personally don't think that giants built the pyramids. I think that that's being very ethnocentric. I think that these folks were well able to do this. But the fascinating thing about the pyramids is that these were the tallest buildings in the world until the Eiffel Tower was built. So we really can think, in those terms, how ancient these things are. Alexander the Great said even time fears the pyramids. So it's one of those things where because it's so far in our distant past, we have to almost imagine how this happened. And that's what we're doing right now. We're imagining how this happened. But I think that good old Egyptian ingenuity and intelligence was able to do this. I'm not one of those guys that thinks that UFOs were used or anything. It's cool to speculate about that stuff, but I think that it was just good old plain toil and sweat intelligence.
Mm-hmm. Well, the thing that makes me think how, about their intelligence is they even had robots, moving robots at that time. And it just makes me think, wow, have you heard about that?
Well, I don't know about that particular one, but I think you need to fill me in on this. Go ahead.
Oh no, I was watching a show on Egyptians and what they had going on back then at that time, and they had working robots, and I think it was one was a lion, and there was another one that was
Jenna.
I don't remember, but it was on Pyramid. I wish I remembered which show. I'll find out and I'll get it to you because it was the neatest thing.
So this was my question about that. Do you think, or have you ever heard that fairies can change their size?
Oh yeah. Yes. I thought we already answered that. Did we already answer that?
Yeah.
But go from little to huge at will.
Right. Well, okay. Oh, I'm sorry. Yes. But is that physically happening?
Is it?
From what I gather, I think that it's something that's put within our mind. It's an implantation of a thought.
Oh.
So what about their villages that are there and then not there?
Right. Again, I think that what's going on is that we can have glimpses into their world, but we can never actually ascertain anything about that. We can only see shadow play of what they have to offer. But I think that that's what's going on. We talk. I mean, I have a whole section of my book on fairy islands that seem to appear and disappear at certain times. And even if you look at maps, even from the late 1800s, they still have listed these little islands where supposedly fairies live. So the idea that yes, oh, see, that's awesome that you ladies know such things. That's great.
Oh, I was really fascinated with these things for a long time before Bigfoot. And so I did a lot of reading on that online and a lot of researching I learned a lot about High Brazil, and even that it was showing up on maps all over, and it even showed up on a map off the coast of America.
It did.
So there's some idea that it might not have been an island at all. It might have been a ship.
Oh, okay. Well, see, this makes perfect sense then, because one of my favorite authors is Tolkien, and whenever you see everybody leaving the Shire at the very end of the Lord of the Rings trilogy, they get into a boat, don't they? They get into a boat to go to the other world, and I think that's something to be said. This idea of traveling. Now, I did not include that in my book, but I love that. I love that story, that this could possibly be some sort of fairy ship. That's a great story, my dear.
And it's so neat because there is a lot of people don't know this, and it's hard to find information about it. But if you're in the know and you're part native, you might get a little bit more in the know about it if you ask the right people. But I'm part Ojibwe and from northern Minnesota. And our people have the 7 fire prophecies that were given by the 7 prophets who came to the people a couple thousand years ago or so. They walked out of the Great Salt Water on the East Coast, which was Northern America, Southern Canada, the East Coast. And these people said that they lived at the bottom of the ocean. And they gave prophecies of the future with instructions. And they told the people when they were to leave and where to go. And they actually told them to follow the shell that would appear. And the shell was this giant it looked like this one kind of a shell, but it was actually rose up in the water of one of the lakes, and they followed it. And it was more like, when I said, "Do you mean more like a ship?" And they said, "Yep." And they followed it to like Minnesota, Wisconsin, Upper Great Lakes into Canada, the whole area where the Ojibwe and the Anishinaabe people settled. And they were told to go to a place where food grows on top of water, and that they didn't know of anything like that, but it's wild rice is what they found, and that they were supposed to stay there. And so they're still following the instructions that they were given, and we're actually in the seventh prophecy time right now, following those instructions. But they said that they lived at the bottom of the ocean.
Well, yeah, see, that's fascinating, because whenever I was doing a conference up in Michigan last year, and I was researching my my lake monster book, nations folks coming up and telling me about the city that exists under Lake Superior.
Really? I would love to hear about that.
Yeah,
me too.
So that was it. Just this is just the land of the little people that lived under Lake Superior. And the guy said that whenever he was a kid, missing, he remembers the police force going out and everything. And I think it was like 7 years later, the kids show up walking along the beach again.
Very interesting.
Yeah.
Very interesting.
Was he the same age, or had he aged?
No, the children apparently did not age. That was the whole point. But you have to take this, though, that if this is a culture that is very segregated already and lives in seclusion and isolation, it's very possible that this story could not make any kind of media, because it's so important to the native traditions.
Yeah. Well, that music indicates we're coming to the end of the show already. Fast. So you're gonna have to come back on another time, a later date, Ron. You just have to.
I cannot wait.
All right.
Always pleasant chatting with you folks. I was very pleased to be on here. Thank you for having me on as a guest.
Thank you so much.
You were fabulous.
Again, everybody go to Amazon and find Ronald Murphy's newest book called On Fairies. It's available today on Amazon. So check it out. Do you have a website, Ron?
I do. MurphyJR.com. I think. Look, I'm not good at self-promotion.
Just go to Amazon.
So let's try Ronald Murphy Jr. at Yahoo. I'm sorry, Ronald Murphy Jr.com.
Okay, that sounds great. Thanks for tuning in, everybody. We'll see you next week, and keep it squatchy, everybody. Good night.
Bye.